Thanks for watching the Council in Brief. I'm Susan Kennedy. We're here with all the news of the Montgomery County Council for this third week in January. The Council is back to regular business after its winter recess, and this new year has begun with an informal meeting with the Board of Education to exchange ideas on educational issues. Among those objectives, a Council report that takes a look at services for students on the autism spectrum.
The number of students whose primary diagnosis is autism has increased nearly sixfold in the last 10 years in the Montgomery County Public School System, from 266 back in FY01 to 1,642 in FY11. So a huge increase, at least in the number of students that have been identified with autism or being on the autism spectrum. While it found that there are many good programs in the school system for these students, that's commendable, that there are real gaps in training and evaluation, and that those are areas that significant improvement really is called for.
Also Tuesday, introduction of spending affordability guidelines for the fiscal year 2013 operating budget. The county charter and code require the council to set 3 spending affordability guidelines, including a ceiling on property tax revenues and a ceiling on the aggregate operating budget. Council members told us how the county's current economic situation will set the tone for this year's benchmarks.
This is something that the council is going to have to take a look. We're going to have to take a look at our fiscal plan and make decisions on what are we going to set as guidelines. Now, these guidelines are specifically for what we can afford. They're not necessarily tied into what we would like to achieve or what the need is. And that's why this is a very difficult process, because all of us immediately would like to respond to what the needs are. We do have to make sure that, as the code states, is what we can afford. So I think that we're going to probably stay within the same range as last year. I don't see any very big changes. Although things are looking up a little bit, it's nothing that I think is going to have an effect that is going to be substantial.
The council also took time this week to address a recent report on Category 12 of the county schools budget. This section of the MCPS budget is primarily used to fund employee benefits. The fiscal year 12 budget for this category is $472 million, more than double what it was 10 years ago. The council's education committee has recommendations on how that part of the school's budget could be reconfigured to save the county money.
Well, essentially this came about at the end of the budget cycle last year, when the school system found money in the category that none of us knew was coming. So I think what the OLO report basically does is going to start asking the school system for certain types of information at certain times during the year, in April and in October. And so we're being very specific, because it's hard to know what to ask for if you don't know what to ask for. So that's basically what the OLO report has done.
And folks who subscribe to Comcast and have paid for a service call may be entitled to a refund of that fee. The county's Office of Consumer Protection and Comcast have reached a settlement on those disputed fees. The decision comes on the heels of complaints from residents who believe they should not have been charged the company's truck trip fee for service calls at their homes.
In this settlement agreement, Comcast has agreed to change its disclosures so that consumers will know that there might be a charge depending upon the nature of the work. They've also agreed to provide refunds to anyone who was improperly charged this fee, and they made a payment of $25,000 to Montgomery County. If the repair is Comcast equipment, they should not have been charged a fee. So consumers should only be charged a fee if in fact there was something wrong with their television or their inside wiring. But if the repair pertained to Comcast equipment, they should not have been charged a service fee.
Well, that wraps it up for this edition of the Council in Brief. For County Cable Montgomery, I'm Susan Kennedy. Thanks for tuning in.